Alright guys, so welcome back. In this video we're going to show you how to replace some hardware that's rusted out on the back side of this engine hatch cushion. This engine hatch cushion came off of a Centurion, and they use what they call T-nuts. T-nuts are basically threaded barrels that embed themselves into the baseboard, and these are completely rusted out. Typically they're stainless. By the looks of these you wouldn't think so, but I can't imagine them not using stainless from a boat manufacturer. So they're rusted out pretty bad. The threads are toast. There's no way that a bolt's going back into these. So what we need to do is we need to get these old rusted pieces out of the board. And there's a number of ways you can do it. If they're not too bad, you could probably use a screwdriver, a flatbed screwdriver, to get up underneath the edge like I'm trying to do here and try to remove it. If they're too stuck that way, we can always try some pliers, some vice grips. But the easiest way to get these T-nuts out is going to be with an angle grinder, and you can actually angle grind these, just the tops of them, to where they'll get hot enough to where you can get a flatbed screwdriver underneath it, and they'll just pop right out. So I'm going to try a couple different little techniques here, but we're going to end up using an angle grinder to get these out and make it real simple. So stick with me, and we'll get that process going. Okay, so these are two rusted out, so I went and grabbed the angle grinder. What we're going to do is just grind the tops of them off, just get a lot of the top of it off. What we're really trying to do here is just heat that metal up without damaging the board. And once you heat that metal up, that T-nut up, it actually gets hot enough where you can just take a screwdriver and just pry it right out. Real nice and easy. So you want to be careful not to get into the board too much. You want to try to keep the board as intact as possible. But we're going to use the angle grinder. It'll make this process a lot faster, especially with these being as rusted as they are. So I'm going to take this here. We got two on each side where the hatch supports mount, and then we have 5 at the back end where the piano hinge bolts back in. So sometimes manufacturers will use screws, but in this instance they use these T-nuts, and they do rust out over time. So I'm going to heat them up with the angle grinder here, being careful not to get into the board any. And once you heat them up, just take a flatbed screwdriver, and they should just pop right out. Yeah, it just pops right out nice and easy, and gets rid of all those. So we're going to do it on the back side here, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I got all the rusted hardware removed, and I'm working on getting the new T-nuts and bolts set up here with flat washers. What we're going to do is we're going to put these bolts through the hole, attach it to the T-nut, and go ahead and run the bolt down through and let the T-nut cinch down into the board. You can also use a very light glue on the T-nut as you're cinching this down to kind of help it go into place. We will ultimately use some blue tape on the back side to keep the T-nut down, so when we put all the cushion back together, the T-nut stays in place. These T-nuts here are not typical 1/4 inch size T-nuts. These are 1024s, and so they're a little smaller bolt, and they don't have as much of a shoulder as like a 1/4 inch T-nut would have to dig into the material. So they don't have as big of spikes on the T-nut, and so it's going to need something to kind of help keep that T-nut in place, so that when you put a bolt back down through it, when you're reattaching the hardware after we get the skin back on, that it actually stays in place. So I'm going to run these through with my screw, my screw gun, and tighten them down to where the T-nut actually sinks down into the baseboard, and then I will take them back out, and then I'm gonna run a piece of tape on the back side. So I'm gonna fast forward through this part, and I'll be back after we get all those done. Okay, so I'm going to get some blue tape, and I'm going to put some tape on the back side of these T-nuts. That way it keeps it down to the board, so when we put the foam back on, put the new skin back on, those T-nuts won't move out of place, and make sure that our bolt will get started. So I'm going to put tape down on this one. Make sure your surface is clean enough where the tape's going to stick, and I'm going to do it on the opposite side, and then I'll do it on the back side where that piano hinge is going to go, where the five holes are. So I will be back with you momentarily and finish this repair. Okay, so I got all the T-nuts taped down in place where they won't move, got all the new hardware in place. At this point, this cushion is ready to be reassembled once we get our new skins. All the hardware that came off of this base, I put back so that it doesn't get lost. So I will go ahead and reattach all the hardware that came off of this base so that it stays with the base, so it's ready to go when we get the new skin. So I'm going to fast forward this video to the end of putting the hardware together, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay, so I'm finishing up putting the rest of the hardware back on this cushion, and that is complete. So we are ready to reassemble the new skins as soon as they get back from production, and that will be the next video showing you how to put the new skin back on this cushion.